In this video, I'm talking about autism and ADHD and some of the things that I've personally experienced coming up. Welcome back to the Aspie World. My name is Dan. I have autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia. I make weekly videos on this type of content, so if you're new around here and you'd like to learn more, remember to hit that subscribe button by clicking the notification bell. Oh, and if you're watching over on Facebook, make sure to hit that like and follow button so you see daily videos from me. In this video, I'm discussing 5 things that I feel are super insightful about autism and Asperger's syndrome and how they kind of interlock with ADHD. So yeah, these are all like my personal kind of like background bits to it. I think it's going to be super interesting. Okay guys, before I get into the video, I just like to read out some questions and answer them that you guys have asked me over on Instagram. So if you'd like to be featured in a video like this, head over to my Instagram account, give me a follow, turn your notifications on so you get alerted every time I ask you to ask me questions, and you might be in a video like this. Okay, so the first question here is from Sophie Sidgwick, and they said, getting a new class suggestions on how to empower them from day one. The thing is, you have with schooling, you have to listen to the kids and see what they need, and when their needs are met, then you can come in with empowerment. So the empowerment comes from the fact that you look at what they're good at, and when you find them good at something, you give them a bit of extra time to do that thing that they're good at, because then they'll just excel in it. Super awesome. Okay, next question here is from HL Hartnett, and they said, could you make a video on Asperger's in school? Sub to Ollie Squad on YouTube. Okay, Ollie Squad, I'll check you out. So will I make a video on autism school? Yes, absolutely. I'm actually wanting to do a series on autism and schooling and things like that for parents and for the kids who go into school, and then for college and universities and things like that. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see that video. Okay, the next question here is from Rashid_KHZ, and they said, do you do podcasts? And if so, and if you don't, I think you should. And absolutely, I have a podcast out. It's called the #1 Autism and Asperger's podcast, The Aspie World, and you guys can get that in a link in the description below. There's a link to my podcast there. I do weekly podcasting and it's super awesome, so please check it out. We've had like 35 or 39,000 listeners. It's crazy, so please check out the podcast. Okay guys, so I have a condition of autism spectrum disorder and ADHD. Now that is really interesting. I know a lot of people have that as well, but this is my diagnosis. My diagnosis is autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and it's a very interesting mix, and it's quite common. Obviously this mix, it happens a lot, but I just wanted to discuss it because I feel like a lot of people are searching for it and they want to talk about it, and so I thought I'd discuss 5 things that are kind of like super interesting to me from my point of view of having both ADHD and Asperger's syndrome. So here are 5 things that I want to discuss. The first thing is that ADHD and Asperger's, or ADHD and ASD, which is autism spectrum disorders, they are commonly comorbid, which means they are commonly co-occurring together. So usually when someone has a diagnosis or an official diagnosis of autism, I would say it's about 90% of the time they'll have a diagnosis of like ADD or ADHD. Now this is super interesting. Like, I find this just fascinating because they conflict, and I'll talk more about the conflictions later on, but it's really interesting that when I meet someone who's on the spectrum, they all say like, hey, I'm on spectrum, I'm autistic, and they go, yeah, oh yeah, and I have ADHD. Like, most of the time that happens. It's quite interesting actually that so I know a couple of people who don't have ADHD, but I think it's just that they haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but they have been diagnosed with autism. And a lot of the time, I guess, when they'll diagnose autism, they're kind of like, they're not really getting the ADHD part because they think it's all on the autism part, that how they test or how they assess for an autism spectrum condition. And I find that just fascinating. Okay, so number 2, the second thing I want to talk about is how food and drink impact my ADHD versus my Asperger's syndrome. So with autism, I find that like it comes with like GI issues and gastrointestinal issues. Like, anybody who has like an autism spectrum condition watching this will all know all about the IBS and all the other kind of fun, lovely gut issues that come with an autism spectrum disorder. I don't know why, but it just does, and it's a right pain in the backside. But in terms of food and drink, sugar directly impacts me. So if I have sugar or something that is like heightened with like sweeteners or something like that, like basically just anything that's sugary, like even juice to a certain extent, I just hit the roof. I get super hyperactive. My parents banned orange juice in my house when I was growing up because of the effect that it had on me, especially Sunny Delight. They gave me Sunny Delight and I was like climbing the walls. It was crazy. But I kind of stay away from sugar. And now as well, the past 10 years, I haven't had any caffeine because caffeine also impacts me. because the weird thing, okay, so this is how it happens. When I have caffeine, I am just super like just, you know, hyperactive as heck. Like I think I'm hyperactive now. When I'm on like caffeine, I'm hyperactive as ever. Like I can't sleep. So if I have caffeine, I'll be laying in bed like, you know, like shaking because I can't go to sleep. And also when I have like sugar, the same thing happens. I can't go to sleep. I take melatonin to go to sleep sometimes because I get so hyperactive during the day. Having caffeine and sugar just super directly impacts my life. It's so bizarre, but it's something that I've had to live with and learn to live with, and something that I've kind of overcome by just making sure I treat my body well, and I kind of replace like juices for like water and stuff like that, and I don't have like caffeine and fizzy soda pop and stuff like that. I don't know, it kind of works. I do miss Coca-Cola and Mountain Dew and stuff like that, but you know, the past 10 years, you couldn't get Mountain Dew 10 years ago here in the UK anyway, so yeah, one of it. Okay, so I really want to talk about this next subject, number 3. I want to talk about how ASD and ADHD conflict with each other. Because I have both conditions, it's very interesting to see them conflict. Now, when I want to try and hyper-focus on an obsession, because anybody who has an autism spectrum condition will know that you have like hyper-focus where you'll find an obsessive topic or interest or something that you want to hyper-focus on, and you'll like really get into that and you really want to learn about it and you want to get onto that one thing and do it really, really well. Now that's all well and good, but when my ADHD kicks in, it's like you don't want to do that, you want to do this and also this and also that and also this and also that and also this and also this, and you get all of these things just like around me. I have like a million unfinished project. I have a million unfinished projects because my brain is just splitting me all over the place. My MacBook window has like a million tabs open at any one time. I have like maybe 4 or 5 projects on the go. I edit like 2 videos at a time because my brain is just like split and divided down the middle, and I'd rather just focus on one thing, but then the other time I'm like, no, but I can do so much more. And it's so weird. Like it's the most weird thing I can try and explain. I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining this like well enough, but it's how it is, and that's what I experience. Okay guys, number 4. This one is interesting. Number 4 is like how ADHD impacted me in a classroom, right? So where I was in a classroom, I had ADHD and it made me like super irritable. Like I didn't want to be there because I was like irritated. I didn't want to sit down on this chair for too long, and then like I couldn't like focus and stuff, and it made me super unhappy because like I was just irritated the whole time. I wanted to get up and just like let off some energy, you know, and it was just mad. And then you look at like being disruptive. If teachers caught you like getting up off your chair, you know, you have to sit down. I mean, kids in general, they make you sit down for such a long time in these little plastic chairs. It's horrible. Like they really need to kind of, you know, realize that not all kids are going to be able to sit down for that amount of time, especially kids on the spectrum. I mean, it's just stupid to think otherwise. But that was really interesting because like that made me like unable to focus on stuff. I couldn't focus on the board or like writing stuff down or learning like certain techniques and stuff like that. But my autism also made me super bored in classrooms because like as a kid I was just like super bored because I knew a lot of the stuff the teachers were talking about. I'd already like learned a load of the stuff. I actually corrected the teachers a few times, so I had this conflict of like being like really irritable and really bored, and it wasn't a good combination. And I really didn't enjoy primary school or the first few years of high school until I found music. But like the first, like, it just didn't work, you know. Like the school system where I went to was never set up for anyone with autism or ADHD, or autism and ADHD. It just didn't work. Okay guys, number 5 is this is interesting actually. So as I was saying before, like ASD and ADHD are commonly comorbid or co-occurring when they get diagnosed. On the contrary to that, ASD sometimes is misdiagnosed as ADD. Now this is really fascinating. So people who actually have ASD are actually getting diagnosis of ADHD or ADD because the assessors are finding it really interesting that they have the same traits like zoning out, obsessive interest, hyperfocus, they're super smart, they're very creative, all that kind of stuff adds to the fact that they go, oh no, this person actually has ADD, but they go, okay, well, what about the social aspect? And it's the social aspect that actually determines the autism, but it's the other parts like the hyperactivity and the other things that are like more linked to like ADHD or ADD, switching from topic to topic very, very quickly and not really deciding on those things. That again is ADHD and ADD. So rather than really pick out the bits in between and say, oh, it's ADHD and autism or ASD, they're actually saying it's one or the other a lot of the time. And this is a big issue for kids who have both but not getting the support for both, if that makes sense. So it's a very interesting one to think about. This is really a common misdiagnosis, just like in girls. Girls on the spectrum are misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder before they get the actual official diagnosis of autism. And it's just interesting, but hopefully videos like this and communities like ours are going to help build that kind of understanding and help build a secure structure so people can get correctly diagnosed as and when they need it. Okay guys, they were like my 5 things I thought you needed to know about ADHD and and autism together, and autism and ADHD and how they relate to each other. And I had super fun telling you this video and like reliving some of like my memories from the past and going down memory lane and doing all those kind of things. So if you guys have anything to add to this, please leave it in a comment down below. If you really enjoyed this video and like to see more like this, we're talking about my past and stuff, give this video a thumbs up because I can gauge then if you want to see more of the videos. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.